Hello, good morning, good afternoon, and welcome. I'm very pleased to be joined by Yury Melnikov. Yury was recently at last week at World Hydrogen MENA, where he gave a presentation on hydrogen in Central Asia. So I thought it'd be useful to record some words and get some of your thoughts around the market there. You've obviously been tracking hydrogen for a number of years across the different markets and working both as an analyst for IRENA and also for venture capital funds. And you're about to produce a report on hydrogen in the Central Asian area. So welcome, Yury.
Welcome. Thank you very much, Nadim, for having me here and for having me during your conference in Dubai.
Yeah, and so can you give us a little overview around Central Asia? There's obviously a number of countries. Some are major fossil fuel players, others aren't. Certainly enough, renewable energy capacity across the region for sort of green hydrogen, and I assume also opportunities even for sort of decarbonisation of existing gas industry, i.e., blue hydrogen.
So the thing is that Central Asia and the Caspian countries are usually kind of in a gray zone in global energy modeling. If you look into reports produced by Bloomberg New Energy Finance or International Energy Agency or other international think tanks, we see that this region is quite in gray zone. We don't know a lot about it, and talking about hydrogen, it's basically the same situation. We can only see that they have land. They probably have some water here and no water here. They don't have direct access to open sea. They are landlocked, and basically that's all. That's it. What we have. So the research which was done in 2022 by United Nations Economic Commissions for Europe was dedicated to estimation of hydrogen potential, of clean hydrogen potential, production potential in this region, about some obstacles, barriers, opportunities, mapping local communities, hydrogen communities. And after this research, we came to some insights. First of all, that Central Asia is not a united region. It's different countries. There are different countries with different characteristics, different issues. For example, there is a group of big oil and gas producers like Azerbaijan and Turkmenistan, and they are at the moment exporting a lot of oil and gas to European Union and China. And the energy sector is dependent on oil and gas mostly. They don't need to import energy. There are Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan, which have a lot of green electricity, water, hydropower electricity in their electricity mix, but at the same time they are dependent on oil products import, and they have a lot of issues, seasonal issues, because demand for energy and production of energy is not usually at the same level during different seasons. And there are also difficult issues in connection with old infrastructure, outdated infrastructure. And
those issues are around the water table or the changes in hydropower throughout the year.
Yes, first of all, it is because of variability of hydropower itself. They have different hydropower production during different years, and it is also very dependent on season. You have a lot of water during summer, and you don't have a lot of water in winter. And at the same time, you need a lot of energy during winters because it's too cold.
Yeah.
So that's basically the reason for a big problem for two countries. At the same time, probably it will be a possibility for seasonal storage, seasonal energy storage in the future when they will solve some infrastructure problems. And there are two countries in the center, Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan. They are similar to each other, maybe because of several things. First of all, they have a lot of energy resources, different energy resources, and they are net energy exporters. They have quite a good transportation and industrial sector. They already consume a lot of hydrogen. Also in some very modern sites which was created. I mean, chemical industrial sites and gas processing sites, which was established with international players, international companies. So they and the most important thing, in my point of view, is that Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan both are moving towards decarbonization of the national economies.
Right.
Kazakhstan declared and adopted net zero 2060 strategy. It was adopted several weeks ago in February, I suppose. Uzbekistan doesn't have net zero goal yet, but there are a lot of movements towards decarbonization in electricity sector, at least. Electricity sector, probably they are already discussing net zero and in electricity sector. So in my point of view, in several years, they will come to net zero in the economy itself. That basically creates opportunity to use hydrogen inside the economy, the local demand of hydrogen. There are 3 groups of countries, and each group have different scenarios, different drivers to deploy hydrogen or to think about hydrogen or draft the national hydrogen strategy, for example.
I mean, I guess the early adopters, as it were, looks like Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan. You've got potentially, was it Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan, who would look at trying to balance the grid and offset their hydropower and provide seasonal storage for winter. And then you've got Azerbaijan and Turkmenistan, who would look at potentially decarbonizing their gas industry. They're the 3 kind of categories.
Yes, it's as I said, it's 3 categories, 3 groups. 6 countries, 3 groups, two countries in each group, with different scenarios and different barriers, opportunities. So it's important, at least it's important to understand these differences when we are talking about the region. It's not, we need to understand local issues. And after that, we can deep dive into each country and understand what is going on with infrastructure, long-term strategy, structure of economy, what is going on with some hydrogen initiatives and landscape of hydrogen stakeholders which already consume hydrogen or are going to consume hydrogen or even are thinking about exporting hydrogen to Europe, as in Kazakhstan, for example.
In terms of the I guess Western companies or people looking at investment destinations, had seen some notices around, say, Uzbekistan specifically. Is that sort of Aqua Power interested in launching some projects there? Is that correct?
Yes. Actually, I decided to talk about Central Asia in Dubai because I see a lot of new movements and new relationships, new establishment of new relationships between MENA countries and Central Asian countries. A lot of meetings between leaders, between delegations in the top level. So a lot of new MOUs and some discussions about new projects in renewables, in hydrogen, between aqua power in particular, and Masdar with local companies located in governments, at least in Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, and Azerbaijan. And there are, I am sure that these such kind of relationships will grow in the future because of some cultural difference. So we are basically very close in cultural way. They are close in geographically, and maybe also it is also because of geopolitics and some changes which we see during the last year in Eurasia.
I mean, in terms of Azerbaijan, it's obviously been a major fossil fuel player for years, obviously on the Caspian Sea, and is there an understanding at the government about the impact potentially of sort of decarbonization to their economy, and are they looking seriously at hydrogen to avoid the stranded assets scenario?
I think that for oil and gas producing countries, thinking about stranded assets is a main is a idea number one, actually, which came into their mind. It is not all about Central Asia. I'm sure that it is about any country in the world which is involved at the moment in oil and gas business. They are the first thing they are talking about is how to make this business sustainable, how to make it more green, how to ensure future income from oil and gas in a net zero world, and to monetize their reserves, natural reserves of oil and gas, which we still have in the ground, under the ground. So it's a quite common thing, I think, across the globe. But at the same time, I suppose that the next step will be to think about decarbonization inside the country, because it is not actually easy to decarbonize export without decarbonization inside the country. You need to place incentives, you need to place new policies which actually affect the economy as a next step. We saw it also, I think, in Russia. We saw it in gas and oil producing countries of Gulf. So they quickly decide to move across towards net zero, and so Saudi Arabia have net zero target. United Arab Emirates have net zero target, and Russia have net zero target. So basically, I think that Azerbaijan and Turkmenistan will go the same road, maybe just in several years.
Well, it's easy to say you got a target. Whether that actually leads to any actual on the ground activities is maybe another question. And I think with Turkmenistan, it came up recently in a report on methane leaks and how huge a contributor it is to that specific problem. So I'm assuming that at some point, pressure is going to be put upon countries like Turkmenistan who are releasing huge clouds of methane into the atmosphere, but I guess it's quite a closed society, for want of a better word, and doesn't have a lot of connections. But surely, it's gonna, if it's gonna want to continue to export products, then it's gonna need to clean up its act, surely.
I think methane leaks is the most important problem at the moment in gas industry itself. And for gas producing and exporting countries at the moment, it become actually very urgent topic to address.
I mean, do you see a link with blue hydrogen acting as an incentive to help plug those methane leaks in terms of sort of attracting investment and technology, or is it just a question that they're just wasting money anyway, so they should be addressing that problem anyway, and just be looking to sell methane, or is there potentially a favorable argument for blue hydrogen in that role to help accelerate the decarbonization and apply technology to capture and convert that methane leak into blue hydrogen?
Conversion methane leaks into blue hydrogen, I don't think that it is it is a kind of huge opportunity, because leaks are usually you cannot predict usually the leaks itself. It is not a common thing. Of course you have some leaks in some specific operations in gas industry, but probably the amount of such leaks is not sufficient to produce hydrogen, or at least you can burn it in atmosphere. Or it's even better to just to prevent it, to mitigate leak, to put it in a pipeline back. The most I think efficient and the most smart way to do with the leaks. But at least you need to manage it, to calculate it, to manage it, to certificate it, etc., etc. So it's a common thing. And if you are talking about blue hydrogen, I think that it's important to understand that at a specific level of methane leaks in upstream, it doesn't make sense to produce blue hydrogen. It will be not blue. It will be not clean. In the end, even if you have the best in the world system of capturing CO2 in your hydrogen production facility, because if you don't have a natural gas with low carbon footprint, you cannot produce blue hydrogen. That's right. Probably if the country is thinking about switching to blue hydrogen in the future, it could create at least a driver to think about methane leaks and to start to manage that. And talking about Turkmenistan in particular, as far as I heard, they joined the methane initiative during last COP in Egypt. And maybe it's a kind of first step, at least, to address this challenge and to incentivize national gas companies to reduce methane leaks and to start to disclose this information to third parties, and so to work on it, to manage leaks.
And I mean, you mentioned with I think reference to Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, hydropower, and obviously green hydrogen being produced off that. For some of those other countries, Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan, we're looking at a favorable conditions for a mix of solar and wind to provide electrolysis plants that are able to run 24/7 and therefore produce good low cost green hydrogen. And is that have they got some good renewable energy profiles that will produce that sort of 24/7 electrolysis plants?
Central Asian countries has all 6 countries. So Azerbaijan is not Central Asia, but Caspian, as well as Turkmenistan. But anyway, all those countries have huge solar and wind potential, There are some differences, but anyway, but the potential is huge, and it is actually locked at the moment because of a lack of local regulation, incentives. There are some new auctions in Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan, which actually show very good results in terms of levelized cost of electricity. And actually, it creates opportunities to look into this situation in an optimistic way. Maybe then this movement will reach all countries. It will be possible to unlock this potential and to use also solar and wind electricity to produce hydrogen. But of course, it's important first to introduce basement for all those for capacity additions. We need new capacity, a lot of new capacities in wind and solar power plants if you want to think about green hydrogen.
Gotcha. Yeah, well, it's fascinating. Fascinating to talk to you, Yury. And we look forward to you've done some research and you'll be producing the report shortly, I understand.
Yes, it will be published in Geneva, I hope in several weeks, and it will be open study without any paywall.
Excellent, we like that. Yeah, we'll push it out and put it out into the community. So many thanks for sharing your thoughts and insight about Central Asia. We look forward to hearing more and certainly looking to help accelerate those countries, both decarbonizing their own processes and industry, but equally potentially as strong providers of hydrogen into the global market. So many thanks, Yury, for taking the time out to share your thoughts today.
Thank you very much, Nadim. Thank you.
Cheers. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.